Hey, Adam, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you're doing in the financial world?
Yeah, no problem, Brad. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. So my name is Adam Cmejla, certified financial planner, founder of Integrated Planning and Wealth Management, located here in Indianapolis. We are exclusively focused on serving optometrists that are private practice owners on a national scale. I've been an advisor for coming up on 13 years now, but as I so eloquently put it, it was about probably coming up on 3 years ago that I effectively decided to burn the ships, if you will, and go all in on a specific niche of an ideal client. So it's interesting because I now define success as me successfully repelling 99.992% of the general public. So that's how I define success in our business right now. And we have some pretty high quality problems that we're trying to solve here around the practice right now. So I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about what we're doing right now.
Well, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your niche. And one thing that really must be very important to you is to have that intense credibility. And how have you either adapted or how have you developed that credibility? In it, last year being most things are virtual, did you have to change your practice? What did that look like?
So I am extremely grateful in the sense that we had already had momentum in a virtual capacity because of our national reach with optometrists around the country. I joke with people that we bring in more clients out of state than we do in state, which is again a good problem to have. But the biggest aha moment for me happened, and I have to give credit where credit's due, when I heard Carl Richards say the quote that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And Carl put it a little bit differently. He said, people don't care about your solutions, they care about their problems. And so the biggest epiphany for me happened when I started thinking about, okay, how can I take what I know as a CFP? How can I take that and solve the problems that optometrists around the country that own their own practice and ideally are within 5 years of selling their practice to a private equity firm? That is my niche within a niche within a niche. How can I be the trusted resource for them? And it started by me just, and I joke with advisors when I say this, but I'm just absolutely genuinely curious about this space. I think you have to have an insatiable desire to learn and an insatiable desire to master your craft and understand all the different arrows in the quiver that you have to solve their problems. However, if you don't understand their problems, you can be kind of grasping in the dark for solutions. So I went and just started asking questions about practice owners. I just started interviewing practice owners, not from a prospecting standpoint, but just as a purely genuinely curious individual. What are the biggest problems that you're facing as a practice owner? What are the biggest challenges that you're looking to solve? And once I started to hear a common theme, and I had a couple of practice owners as clients, but I wasn't nearly as intentional about understanding whether or not that was going to be a definitive niche for me going forward. So I started with them. And then after every conversation, I would inevitably ask, who else do you think I should talk to ask these same questions to as I learn whether or not this is a niche that I want to specialize in. And I started hearing common themes. I started hearing common questions and common challenges. And then, so as any good problem solver should do, I went out and found the solutions. I started finding the answers to that. And not only, and this is, I think, the mistake that advisors make. Advisors think that the information that they have is the secret sauce, and that I can't give away too much information. I can't give away the farm, because the reason that, see, Brad, if I give away the information, then you won't want to come work with me. And that is a limiting belief. And it is it's not really what is called like a blue ocean mentality, right? It's more of this scarcity mindset. And I took the other approach, similar to what Michael Kitces has done in the advisor community with his creating 8,000 word blog posts, right? You're not going to find any of those, but what you will find is that I started a podcast back in 2018, and we produce a weekly show, and I give away everything in that podcast. And here's the difference that I've realized. There is a very, very fine but very distinct difference between the information that we know as advisors and how that information turns into knowledge to your clients. And I define the difference between that as just having the information and then knowing what to do with it. Once you know what to do with it and you know how to take action on that knowledge, on that information, now you have the knowledge to know when to act. So I draw concentric circles for potential relationships. Information is the big circle. Inside that is knowledge, and then wisdom is that third point, because not only do we know, yes, as it applies to me, but now how do I get surgical with this action item? And so what I have found is that the more information that I give away, it does a couple of things. Number one, it demonstrates credibility nationally, right, with my audience. Number two, it demonstrates, kind of in the same vein of that, and I actually know what I'm talking about, and they get an understanding as to how I philosophically approach solving their problems. And third, it helps build a relationship. Granted, it's one way, because they know a lot more about me than I know about them, because they've had the opportunity to read and listen to the information that I put out there. So they understand who I am. Who do we do business with, right? We do business with people that we know, that we like, and that we trust. And giving away that information has been the single biggest way that I have found to significantly increase the equity that a potential relationship has about me and about our firm, and knowing whether or not we're going to do business. So relationships are coming to us not kicking tires as to, oh, we're thinking about working with Adam. I don't know if he's a good fit. It's like, no, we have this problem. We know Adam and his team can solve this problem. It's more of, will you work with us? Can you work with us? And when can we get started? So our prospecting process is not really even prospecting anymore. It's more managing the flow of prospects. We have a wait list right now. We cannot bring on a new relationship until June at this point, which, again, high quality problems to have, but still problems nonetheless that need to be solved.
And I love that. So let's deconstruct some of those things that you said and get down to the point where an advisor can have a wait list for clients. I think that's the that's the end goal for every advisor. And one thing that I love that you said is, you had a solution, right? You are a CFP, you have solutions for people, but you never led with that. You found a niche or a group that you wanted to work with, and then you just asked questions to develop, this is a common solution, but hey, let's actually address the problem. So instead of addressing the solution, you're addressing the problem. I thought that was brilliant. And you covered a few things, but what it summed up to is basically found credibility. When someone finds you that, oh my gosh, this is the guy, you're already so credible by the time they talk to you that you're not selling. You're essentially saying, well, wait a minute, I have other people in line. You'll have to get in. You have to wait your turn, right? And I think that's ultimately what every advisor would want, is a big line going out their lobby waiting on you. But that found credibility, and you said a few items. What do you think has been the most impactful channels that you've used over the last few years to really increase your credibility in a virtual world? You also said you do everything virtual, so that's exciting for a lot of advisors that are wondering, does that work? How do we work in this hybrid environment? You're proof that it does work, but how do you focus on that found credibility, if you will?
So I think it comes down to making sure that your messaging is very, very clear, so that any individual, if you think of from your website to the words that you use, if you have a conversation with someone, whether it be over Zoom or via an email, who are you? Who do you do it for, and how do you do it? Right? My name is Adam. I'm a CFP that serves optometrists that are around the country that are private practice owners, ideally within 5 years of selling their practice to a private equity firm. We help them maintain and hold on to more of the sale of their practice than they would give away in taxes, right? That's one example of a positioning statement that one could have. So who am I? Who do I do it for? And what do I do? Be clear, concise, and confident in how you communicate that message to your audience. So have your avatar of who you do your best work for. If you're a generalist advisor, I think it's very, very difficult for you to create that unique positioning space, because now I'll answer, and one of the reasons for that, and this is me coming back to your question, Brad, is if I'm just working with, hi, my name is Adam, and I work with people that have a pulse, right? I'm being somewhat facetious in there. I can't compete with Vanguard. I can't compete with Schwab, with Fidelity, with any of these big companies. They spend more in advertising per day than I probably bring in revenue per year. So you have to have a targeted message of, what problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? And then go where the fish are. This is the biggest metaphor this is one of the biggest light bulb moments for me was, if we think about prospecting like fishing, if we're just dropping a line in the ocean, with very little bait on it, right? And bait can sound like a negative term, right? I'm not talking bait and switch here or anything. I'm just, stay with me on the metaphor standpoint, right? If we're just dropping a line in here, we don't know what we're fishing for, we don't know what bait to use, we're more putting ourselves in chance. What I looked at is, okay, I have my ideal client, I know where they are, so let's go where the fish are. So what I realized is that optometrists are very, very busy. And so I know I wanted ear share. And so I started a podcast back in 2018. Hi, my name is Adam and I have a podcast. Yes, I know that's on the Rage with Advisors right now. Taking this from my good friend Ben Brandt, don't push record on a podcast on episode 1 if you're not prepared to push record on episode 100. So that was a very, and we're coming up on episode 130 or 125 right now, something like that. So the podcast has been great because it's been very targeted. I can get ear share. I write for a couple of national optometry publications. So that has been another sandbox that I played in, if you will. I'm providing content. And then I'm involved in a couple of online Facebook groups with optometrists as well. So there's 10,000 ODs in one of our Facebook groups that I am one of the members of. That, again, my whole mission there, give away the information, give away the knowledge, give away the answers to the questions that are being posted in there. I know a number of other advisor success stories that are doing the same thing within their respective niches. And the common theme there is, let me just give it all away. So that, I hope I'm hammering that point home here.
I love that, and thanks for being on today. I think if there's advisors that definitely have that niche and they can figure that out and dial it in. And I think even from a broader perspective, if you are a generalist, think of the things that Adam said. Give away your content. Make sure that there's something there. Find out the problem that you're addressing as opposed to presenting your solution, and then listen to the channels that Adam has used to be successful. Blog posts, Facebook groups, and podcasting all seem to be very imperative to your practice. And when people find you at that point, they come in nice and warm. If you had one final thought, Adam, of if an advisor wanted to take one step today, right? If they want to get to step 117 where you're at, but they want to take one step in the right direction today, what would you recommend they start with first?
Answer this question: who do you do your best work for, and what type of client avatar, qualitatively and quantitatively, if you could replicate that person 100 times, would make you the happiest advisor in the world and them the happiest client in the world? Figure out that avatar, create those qualities and characteristics around that person, and go where the fish are. Because once you do that, if you told me that I had to go back to be a generalist advisor working with anybody that figuratively had a pulse, I would very seriously consider just selling my book and exiting the business. That sounds torturous relative to what we have right now. So once you figure out who you do your best work for and where they're at, the marketing and attracting becomes exponentially easier. So figure that out. Start with your client base. If you don't have anybody, if you don't have any clients, that's even better, because now you can create your book from the very beginning and start with your ideal client from day one. And then again, go where the fish are. So hope that helps, Brad. Thank you.
That's perfect. Thanks for being on today, sir.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Good luck, everybody. I can't believe I did good luck.